So yeah, I officially changed my mind about liking the idea of an interim title in AEW. It's as simple as that. No main intro, just roll it.
Free fall as I dive through the kaleidoscope in my mind. No rope up to climb. Gotta remind myself that I'm fine. Mama, I don't really wanna.
You leave for a little bit and then you come back and it's a bunch of shit. It's not really a bunch of shit. It's just one thing revolving around a lot of people and primarily CM Punk. But this whole situation has definitely changed my mind about the idea of an interim title within AEW. I mean, granted, not everybody else is doing it, but I'll look at it the same way that I look at an interim in UFC. I mean, if you think about it, yeah, they do have interim champions, but for the most part, none of it really does matter. I mean, yeah, they'll say that you're reportedly an interim champion, but it doesn't really matter in the record books because, I mean, yeah, you can defend the title. They'll recognize you as a champion, definitely with an asterisk next to it, but for the most part, it really doesn't mean anything until you actually beat said champion. So with this CM Punk thing, it's unfortunate for him. And the reason I say that is because with Mox gaining the championship, even though it's on interim status, he has been just on a fucking tear with being a champion. I don't even want to call Mox an interim champion because the way that he has been defending the title and the way he's been carrying himself on AEW over the past months has been fantastic. I actually appreciate this championship run that he's been on over his first one. And that probably has a lot to do with, you know, the changes that he's had in his personal life and everything going into him being sober and the whole change of life deal. It's just, his mindset has been fantastic. Now, the thing with CM Punk and why I kind of have an issue with him being champion, because after a long thought process, I'm at the point where I honestly don't think that they should have pulled the trigger on giving the title to him. You know, even when we did our predictions for Double or Nothing, even I had picked Hangman to win because I didn't think that it was the right time to do that, because I felt like I had my issues with Hangman's title run in the very beginning. And then as things progressed, it seemed to get better and better and better. And even I said it on here that he was starting to look more like a champion. And when that feud happened between him and Punk, I was like, I like what they're doing with Hangman here. And I think to his benefit, it would have been better had he beat Punk. Because let's be completely honest. Let's be completely honest. Take your Punk fandom aside and the bias aside. Punk winning that championship is primarily to eventually put that title on MJF. Simple as that. You can be mad about it. You can not like it at all. And that's fine. But that's the truth. Because honestly, outside of CM Punk's star power within the wrestling community, what within all of AEW's roster makes him more championship material over everybody else on the roster? You have to ask yourself that. You have to be genuinely honest and ask yourself that. And the reason I say that is because we have a Bryan Danielson who's there. We have a Claudio who's there. We have a Mox, obviously, who's there. We have Hangman who's there. We have a number of prospects who are Wardlow, Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page. There are a number of people who could still carry that title over CM Punk. And again, yeah, they may not have as much star power as him, but at the end of the day, it's going to be the ring work that takes over. So if you put your bias aside and ask yourself that question, could you really, honestly, openly answer that question and say, yes, CM Punk deserves to have that title? Nothing against him at all. But that is honestly something that has opened my eyes within this whole situation that's been going on. Because if you think about it, Punk taking that title off of Hangman, I believe, was too early. Punk coming back now with Mox being on the run that he's been on, being interim champ, is now cutting that early. And I don't think, like, to be honest, I think this could wait up until All Out and then, pull the trigger and then have, Mox drop the interim title and then, of course, Punk continue being champ. Because, I mean, of course, at the same time, I still believe that you've put this title on Punk, he deserves to have, a chance at having a run. Whatever type of run that's going to be, I think he still would deserve that, because you might as well go ahead and commit. That's fine. But it sucks. It sucks. And that's why I think that the idea of interim is stupid at this point. Because if you took the same idea with let's go back, all the way to, Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon feud over the Intercontinental Championship. When Michaels went out, then Razor won the Intercontinental Championship. Michaels came back and kept saying, hey, I'm the real champ. You didn't beat me, blah, blah, blah. It could have been the same thing here. Punk got hurt, had to relinquish it for a little bit, came back, I never lost. Simple shit. Mox still goes in the record books as a two-time champion. Because what happens now? Now that he's defended the interim title so many times and it's gone on a fantastic run, does that just get wiped away? Does he not get the credit for being a two-time AEW champion? Because that's where that little blemish in the whole interim situation goes into play. And that's what causes the confusion, especially on my part when I think about it, because I look at this run and I'm like, wow, this deserves to have the credit it deserves. But with the whole interim deal, is it really going to matter? Like, are we just going to sit here and pretend in the history of the AEW championship that this run that Mox is on right now is just null and void? That's the problem that I have. And that's why I've basically turned coat on the idea that I first was for. When they were doing the whole TNT championship and the whole interim thing with Cody and Sammy Guevara, I was all for it. But then you get to this, and it's like, well, now thinking about it, it's fucking stupid. And I think Scoot and Jaeger both had stated that they were against it. I can't remember. I'll have to go back and look. But I know for a fact that I was for it, and now I'm going back on it. So, yeah. But now we have this whole CM Punk controversy with the whole backstage stuff and what could or could not be. I'm not going to go through the whole speculation of what is rumored, but I'm more so going to talk about let's just say hypothetically, just on the small portion, because I'm not going through the whole thing. I'm just going to talk about one small portion of it, and that is the heat between both Punk and Hangman Adam Page. If this part is true, where he basically went on TV and went off script for that small segment, it was still off to me when I watched it. When he called out Hangman just randomly, it seemed off. But and I didn't think anything of it, when I was watching it. But of course, when the reports came out about this being rumored, about him not showing up and, this and this or whatever, still didn't really make any sense. But then, like, they start talking about, the promo that Hangman had. And they said that could have been the reason why, he went off script, and he was kind of mad about that. The difference between the two, and this is why I'm more so on Hangman's side, versus CM Punk's is because if you think about when Hangman did that promo, the promo, even if Hangman went off script, the promo in itself, when it was going on, seemed to make a lot of sense just for storyline purposes alone. Even if there was some real heat behind it, the implications behind it were all and pretty much made the feud better, in my opinion. The whole thing, I'm gonna save you, or I'm gonna save AEW from you, this and this. It worked. It worked. It was believable. But then that versus what happened earlier this week makes no sense because you're in a feud with Moxley, and then you just randomly call a Hangman because, oh yeah, you want a rematch, here we go, you got it. Oh wait, you're not gonna come out. That's not cowboy shit. That's coward shit. You're in a feud with Mox. No matter how you cut it, it's not going to make sense unless Hangman comes out and then you follow up with that at some point during the show. But if there's no follow up, it's stupid. It's completely dumb, and it's uncalled for. And and here's the other thing, and this is where the hypocrisy comes into play because you can't, because with CM Punk, after you've done something like you did with the pipe bomb in WWE, and you become that person that's known for something like this, you can't turn around and then get mad at somebody else for airing their grievances if they have to in the same manner that you did. You got to keep that same energy. You can't sit here and then do that and then get mad that somebody else did it. That's not how this works. You got to take the bad with the good and the good with the bad. No matter how you fucking slice it, it is just that. So to that, and this is really the only thing that I wanted to keep the idea on. I didn't want to get into the whole, I know other people are covering it, but that's not my thing. Unless something comes out that says this is definitively what happened, I'm only going to stick to the hypothetical that I want to talk about because I feel that there are tangibles within that. So if this whole thing turns out to be, complete and utter speculation on all accounts, then, we can all move on from this. I'll come on and I'll say, yeah, well, I still stand by what I said, but at the end of the day, cool. All is well at this point. But if CM Punk comes out of it's next week now, which is weird. So I don't know what they're planning on doing unless MJF is coming back, which giving everything that's going on now is it going to be divided? Because you're going to have a situation, unless Punk is going to come heel out of this, which is fucking weird because it's going to be all over the place. Because if you have him call out Hangman, which is some heel shit on his end, and then him and Mox go at it, which Mox has been on an incredible run to the point to where people want Mox to win over Punk, and Punk beats Mox, who technically Punk would still be babyface, and then you have the MJF come in to then beat Punk, you're going to end up making MJF a face, which he's already got star power behind him because of the shit that he did, months ago. So it's just a weird situation. And I think at this point, you got two options. You either put Punk on a fantastic tear on a fantastic run with the AEW Championship, and basically make believers out of everybody to say, you know what, that Mox run was fantastic, but Punk just topped it. Or you just save it for another time and say, you know what, we fucked up with Punk. We're putting the title on Punk over Hangman, putting the interim on Mox, and then putting the title solely on Punk. Take it off of him immediately, put it on MJF, or let Mox continue his run, and then just try again later. because it's hard for me to see any good coming out of this with everything that's going on, and especially with a lot of the backstage stuff that's happening reportedly and rumor wise with AEW. And that's something that I'll probably end up covering tomorrow, because that's something I do want to talk about as well. There's a lot of things that I want to cover, but this primarily, is something that's been on at the back of my mind, especially with, my thoughts on the interim, my thoughts, with how I view Punk taking the title off of Hangman and then potentially stopping this fantastic run that Mox is on. It's just, I'm not a fan of it. I love CM Punk, but we have to be honest with ourselves. Do you honestly see just a memorable run with CM Punk as AEW champion right now with all of the talent that is going that AEW has on their roster? Punk he really has to, because look, the comeback luster has worn off. So now it's like, yo, it's time to show and prove. Like, you need to make us believers. Make us some mother effing believers. But either way, spend a lot of time speaking on this shit. Save some breath for some other shit that I'm going to talk about tomorrow. But yeah, whether, leave all your comments, questions, concerns down below, everything that you want to talk about. If you want to ask me anything, if you disagree with anything that I've said, or if you agree with anything that I've said, leave all that shit down below. But either way, whether you loved it, hate it, don't forget to rate it, hit that notification bell, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, all that good shit. But until next time, you beautiful, 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 beautiful mother effers, T.A.G, the fucketh out.
Dollars make a way to make a change. Gotta be insane to make them same mistakes again. So I'm switching lane to lane. Pray to curve.